Thanks everybody for taking the time to join us. My name's Scott Johnston. I'm the interim Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, and today I'm up in Madison, Maine at the mill. And so we have a wonderful afternoon planned to talk about TimberBatt, but we're also going to get you some live demos as well. So I'm here joined this afternoon up here in another part of the mill with.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Evan Brewer. I'm the quality manager here at TimberHP. So I'm within the operations group, helping to figure out how to run the equipment. And I run all the quality test protocols and ASTM testing, other testing that we need for our products. So thanks for hopping on this afternoon.
Thanks, Evan. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for carving out time. We're going to obviously use PowerPoint presentation for the beginning portion of our time together. And we know that it's a vast array of folks that are joining us today, some that have come and joined us every time we've done one of these Beyond the R Value. But we also know there's some new people joining us today. So we did want to do a very high level overview as to TimberHP, who we are, give you a little background with regards to wood fiber coming into the United States. So the first thing we want to explain is actually the name of our company. And 90 to 95% of our raw material comes from timber. We get it in the form of a wood chip, and you'll see that a little bit later on in the presentation. But the HP is very important for us in the sense that we talk about high performance, healthy planet, and healthy people. And the high performance can mean a number of things for us, and I'm sure you'll be supportive of that regardless of where you're at in the design, development, or installation of our products. Durability is critical. And when we say durability, not only the physical material that arrives at your job site, but also the assemblies that you're either designing or building in the field. What's unique about wood fiber is the fact that it's vapor open. So we can address that high R value that his code has been pushing, or you might be pushing above and beyond code because of the fact that you're doing a high performance project. The high performance really speaks to those key attributes. The healthy planet, our raw material, as I said, is 90 to 95% wood chip. So that in and of itself, we are in essence a recycling center, but it's all biomaterial, if you will, with the exceptions of a couple of little nuances that we'll talk about during the presentation. Non-toxic as well. We just got our Declare label, which is great. And then the healthy people part of it. Of course, by and large, the occupants are critical to this whole process since they're going to live or work in that structure that you've built. But it's also something that we love to point out for the installers. I mean, that's a tough job to install insulation. So the wood fiber element that we bring to the table is a bit of a nuance in the sense that when you're working with it, it behaves a little bit differently, but it cleans up a lot easier as well in the sense that it's non-itchy, scratchy. You literally brush it off or take a leaf blower and blow it off and sit down and have your meal, and you're not taking that itchy scratchiness with you. It's just a really different experience. And then just as a placeholder where we fit, if you think about it, primarily we fit into wood framed assemblies. The exception might be a demising wall where we also have a steel assembly that we'll talk about. But this is TimberHP, and we are the first wood fiber insulation producer in the US. So a little bit of interesting piece here is that we are carbon storing, and I'll show you that at the end of our presentation. High performance, as we just discussed, and then the wood fiber, but that non-toxic piece, whether it's for TimberBatt that we're talking about today, but all of our products, that's very important for us to make sure that we're in that category. And as I mentioned, we just got the Declare label. The other piece is, and we'll show you in greater detail, Class A for the TimberBatt, for the timber filled material for the interior products. And then on market in November with the timber board, that's a Class B. So we really do check the boxes for wood frame construction, and I'll show you some examples of some projects where we fit into. What this video is going to do is really talk about, show you the wood fiber insulation over in Europe. What's interesting is it's a 20 to 25 year process, building material that's been in that market for that many years. So for me, I look at it as a white paper. And as you can see on the screen right here, there's over 9 to 10 companies that produce this competitively all throughout Europe. Styco, traded on the Frankfurt Exchange, just recently purchased by Kingspan. And so, wood fiber is just a very common product over in Europe. There are many early adopters that were specifying it and shipping it into the United States, but economically it really doesn't resonate with the mainstream industry because of the price point. So what's really interesting is now that we're producing up here in Madison, Maine, our wood fiber costs are very, very competitive. Our natural gas price is extremely low, so it finally allows us to produce wood fiber insulation here in Madison, so that for the New England markets, the New York and the Mid-Atlantic markets in terms of transportation, it is Main Street. This is not a boutique product. And so I want to give you an idea of what it's like to install these various products. So you'll see a little video that'll show you the three products that we are going to be producing here. It'll show you the wood fiber alternative to cellulose. It'll show you the batt installation, and it will also show you the board. So I'll press play and enjoy this little video. So that gives you a little background of what they're doing in Europe. It's pretty commonplace. If you were to travel over into Europe and be at a construction site, it wouldn't be uncommon to see one of those brands on site. It's just basically a natural building material to procure locally. So we are on market right now with TimberFill and TimberBatt. And today, obviously, we'll be speaking about TimberBatt. But I did want to update you on the fact that we have exciting news coming next week that'll be shared publicly. But we will be back to completing the production of the timber board line. And we have a lot to do there in terms of getting it up and running and turning it over to the operations team to actually produce the first board and then get it over to third-party testing and such. But we're very excited to look to come on market later this year. So I just wanted to give everybody here an update on that. The thing that's critical is pricing. As I said, and I purposely said it, we're no longer a boutique product. The wood fiber that we're now manufacturing up here in Madison, Maine, fits nicely into the markets that you serve. So whether you're a commercial insulator, whether you procure material from a gypsum supply house, traditional lumberyard, we are at those locations. And that helps us as well because it helps get you the product in a timely fashion. But then the pricing in and of itself, and we know this for a fact with TimberFill, we wanted to come in at a cost neutral, and we are absolutely coming in at a cost neutral. We're doing single family homes, affordable housing, so that in and of itself really speaks to that. And then the timber board, which we came on market in the winter, February of 2024, with some great success. Here again, we're priced below mineral wool, and we'll talk more about it, and Evan will get into some greater detail about it. Is that the density of our product and the makeup of the wood fiber that's in the TimberBatt really is very competitive with mineral wool in the wood frame category and in the steel stud cavity for fire rated walls. Certainly we know that mineral wool is quite different. It's mined material that is quite different. It's non-combustible, and ours is fire resistant. But obviously the mineral wool category has expanded where they've come into residential, multifamily, etc., because of the density. So we'll show you today how we think we have a pretty nice alternative for that to check the box on thermal and sound, as well as code compliance. So you see where we come in below. Fiberglass, it's just a tough thing. 53-foot truck can be cubed out with an awful lot of fiberglass. So, That's a bit of a challenge for us, but in many cases, we've worked with architects, builders, developers, remodelers, and they have really enjoyed the product and have been more than willing to pay up a little bit for it. So we do see a opportunity to move some of that market share over to our products. So for some of you that are brand new to who we are and where we fit, I wanted to just show you a couple of jobs um, where we fit in and day out. And this is a local project here down in Yarmouth, Maine. And this just shows you a conventional new construction home. And, you know, they're using both our products, the timber fill. But what I wanted to show you here in the demising walls, they're using the TimberBatt. And so that's just a traditional application. And you can see the bags that are delivered to the job site. So you get a good feel for what that looks like. And then, of course, it goes without saying, you know, the folks that are doing high performance homes, passive house, and such. Again, they love the product, use the product, and they use it because of the fact of the densities. So when they're doing their blower door tests and such, they're getting some fantastic ratings that allow them to get some pretty small circulation or air exchanges per hour. It's exactly where they want it to be dialed in. So we've had some great success there. Renovation. This was a job that was on Maine Cabin Masters this, I think it was March, but this shows you a great application where somebody's repurposing some space where TimberBatt can certainly be used as you can see, there's some new framing, but also can go into traditional framing that's still on the job site as well. So very versatile. And I like this job. This is a job we worked on down in Litchfield, Connecticut. So there's two parts to it. There's this large home that's been converted into or will be converted and completed into a bed and breakfast. And then there's these two annex buildings. No disrespect, they're not very architecturally pleasing, but they're functional for bedrooms and such. And so what they needed to do on these two annex buildings is they needed to completely reframe out the space for, you know, guests, if you will. And what you'll notice is you see the steel studs that are there, and then you can also see our TimberBatt that's being installed as well. That's a corridor that you're looking at there. So really wanting to make sure that you're fully aware of where the product fits. The other one that's a big category for us, and we're really excited about it. We're starting to do this work already. You're looking at a project that's down in Westbrook, Maine, housing. This is being used for student housing at the present time. This building is now complete, and they're using a combination of TimberBatts and timber fill. Lower right, again here, this is sound attenuation in the demising walls, but this is down in Roxbury, Massachusetts, so you're seeing a metropolitan area. We're not in the exterior wall, we're just in the demising walls, but there again is a combination of TimberBatt and timber fill. And it's important for me to mention that both TimberFill and TimberBatt have very competitive STC ratings, and we'll show you that. Upper right-hand corner is pretty fun. That's a building that's just broke ground. It's a little bit further ahead. It's timber frame, CLT, and it's at the University of Maine. And I'll talk more a little bit about our relationship with the University of Maine. SMRT is the architect out of Portland, and they've specified TimberBatt in steel stud cavity for sound attenuation. So we're working on that one now. We're also getting our BABA compliance for some of you that do some of that work. We're going through that compliance work as well. So we absolutely fit into the commercial space. So just pivoting a little block and tackling, pretty straightforward here. Just want to give you a little nuance with regards to the features, advantages, and benefits of BAT. And what's great about these R value sessions is we can get more granular. And so we'll actually have Evan get a little bit more specific in terms of the makeup of the product. But as I've said a few times, purposely so, this isn't just thermal, but it's also acoustic. And that's very important for us to make sure everybody knows that. And then we're really utilizing, by and large, spruce as well as pine. There's reasons for it, and Evan might get a little bit more involved in that. We're dosing this product as well as the timber fill with boric acid. And really what that addresses is the fire, the bugs, and the water. And it's not so much for when I say water, bulk water. Hopefully that's managed properly. It's more for the vapor, right? Vapor moving through your assembly. And it's great for us to have that. And we do that as the product is actually being created at the chip level as we're steaming it and literally tearing that wood fiber apart. We're dosing that fiber completely with a liquid borate, quite different than some of the other applicators that use powder. But what we're also trying to do is not change anything that you're used to, whether you're a specifier or whether you're a builder or remodeler. We're using all the traditional sizing. So whether it's for wood frame or steel studs, all of that standard sizing that you're aware of is exactly how you'll see our product put out there in the um, promotionally and in product pricing and such. On average, we're getting R4 per inch to a diminishing point. So if you're looking at a 2x4, 2x6, we're R4, we're R14 for the 2x4, we're R22 for the 2x6. As we start to get to 2x8, which we do have TimberBatt 4, which is a 7.25, we get a bit of a diminished performance on that R4 per inch. And so we come in at an R28. And we will be publishing that and having that available because there are applications where you might be using it up in an attic and then maybe top coating that with wood fiber, blowing that into the cavity. We know there's a lot of folks that use it in the timber wall or traditional nominal dimensions where they're using a higher R value that they might be using to with the combination of the R28 and the exterior combination might get to the desired R values they're looking for. Non-toxic, as we mentioned before, we do have the Declare label available, and it's a great product as an alternative to perhaps what you're using out there. Now, what we're showing you here is what the borate does for us. If I put a blowtorch onto a non-borated product, that would catch fire and combust and go fairly rapidly in terms of the flame spread. The borate is slowing the flame spread down. And when they take that source of fire away, what you'll see is fire suppression, hence fire rated. And that's what allows us to really get into wood frame construction, steel stud, for fire rated assemblies. And the borate helps us with that. And, we have to test our products, and we do vigorously test our products so that we can make those statements and back it up with proof of testing. American Standard testing measurement. We use the E119, which also is the same exact testing that UL utilizes with their UL 263 wall assembly. And what you're looking at, if you've never seen it, this is actually a wall assembly with an infrared light being put onto that test wall. And it's showing you that wall is being really lit on fire, if you will, and it's going to sit in that chamber to hit all the various requirements that the ASTM E19 test has. But what they're really looking at is the surface burning characteristics of the materials, looking at fire spread and such. And so for us, we have published 1 hour and 2 hour assemblies for you. That's available out online. And for those of you that use RCAT, all of those testing reports are out there. I think for us, for that E19, 119, it's interesting to point out that the wall assembly is tested in accordance with that specific test. Same test as the UL, but it's both sides of the wall. So we're looking at and making sure that we're reporting on that. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the documents available. This is just showing you if you were to go to the ICC website, you'd see the testing out there for us as well as many other manufacturers. We have an ESR report. And as I said, we also have that 1 hour, 2 hour testing. All of that information is available on the website for you. So building codes are driving more and more R value, both interior and exterior. So both the interior insulation and continuous insulation. And with that comes risk. So it's very important that folks that are in the design side are understanding what the code compliance are, and that the builders, remodelers that are needing to be code compliant are following the narrative that the architect is putting forward. But there's a lot of liability that comes with it because we're using different materials to hit that R value. And nothing wrong with that. We're trying to accomplish that R value performance. But much of those codes have driven up the R value so high that there's a higher R value product being used on the outside, and that product may be non-permeable. In this illustration, you can see that. That's still not a problem because if we're following code, we're purposely wanting that assembly to dry to the interior of the home, and so there's no issue there. The potential risk happens if somebody doesn't get the memo and might be using something on the inside that's non-permeable, which then could create a real big problem there with the moisture being trapped in the wall. So, what we propose is to utilize, wood fiber, where when we come online with the board later this year, you can use a continuous insulation called TimberBoard, and then either use the wood fiber, in this case, the TimberBatt, so that now your assembly allows physics to do its thing. The only human barrier is, okay, what am I picking for my sheathing? What am I using? Am I using a piece of plywood, sheet good for my structure? Am I using OSB? Then the question is, what are you using for the weather resistant barrier? So as long as you're looking at a weather resistant barrier that is also vapor open, that is going to allow that assembly to dry out. And then, of course, we have the inside that you need to consider based upon your climate zone and based upon code. Bare bones in some applications might be the TimberBatt with a layer of gypsum and then a vapor open paint that might be used. However, you might be in an area where by desire or by code, you might need to be addressing the interior with smart membranes. So during that peak winter months, if you will, and if somebody, we live in Maine, some of us might store some of their cordwood inside, have plants, have a lot of cooking. So if you have a very cold exterior and you're in that anomaly phase where you might have a dew point on that sheet good, a smart membrane really pretty much eliminates any risk for a dew point to happen on that side. And then, insulation for all season, we're also spending a good deal of money on the heating, of course, in our area, Maine, but also cooling is something that people want to do as well. So wood fiber does a fabulous job of absorbing that radiation, that heat, if you will, guards against that summer heat and saves both not only for the electricity for your cooling, but also for fossil fuel or heat pumps and such for the winter months. And this is the example of it. I really like this little vignette that we have here. And you'll see some XPS foam board on the left. You'll see a wood fiber in the center, and you'll see mineral wool. So we always love to do these third Thursdays of the month R value sessions because sometimes the R value number only is telling you a partial part of the story, which it is. That's telling you about thermal. But when we talk about heat gain in this particular case, even though the wood fiber per inch has a lesser value, and now we're looking at a board detail. If this was bad, it would be 4.0 per inch. But in this case, what I want to show you is I'm going to press play, and you're going to see the heat, the sun coming down on those products, and take a look at what the temperature is on the inside, because this has a lot to do with your modeling for heating and cooling. So we're turning on the heat, and we'll start to see the thermometer start to react to that. And even though the R value is lesser per inch, it's actually providing a superior product on the interior in this application with the heat because it's not absorbing the heat through the insulation down into that space that you're wanting to keep cool. And you can still see that the mineral wool was absorbing some of that heat even after the light was turned off. So something to think about. We're also, I don't know many of you, but when I travel, I really try to make sure I get the top floor away from any mechanical equipment in the highway too. So when we talk about the space that we're in, we love the wood fiber because of the vapor openness, but it's again that in addition to that, acoustics. We just want to make sure that people are aware of the fact that this is a great option for some of those concerns that you might have. This is a really fantastic demonstration of that. So Matt Damon, who you'll meet in a few minutes, he's actually installing some material here at an acoustical lab. And you can see the resilient channels, and he'll apply the sheetrock over that in a few minutes in this little vignette I'm showing you. Now on the right, I'm going to press a button here, and this technician that's working with Jason is going to open up a door so you can hear the loud equipment that's being run, because this is for sound testing. And then he's going to shut the door. He's going to go back into the space where you see Matt right now. That space will have its final layer of sheetrock on it. And so we'll just give you an example audibly as to how this material works.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, that sound is a monster. It's really difficult, but I think all of you can realize when you can't control the sound, it's and you're paying money for staying at a hotel, or if you've rented space and you're dealing with that sound challenge day in and day out, I think you all realize how important it is. So we just wanted to kind of show you that. And we do all the testing. And just like I shared with you with regards to the fire testing, we've also done the sound testing. And what we find is that with wood frame construction, we're right on par with mineral wool. And then when you look at steel, we actually have a little bit better performance with that. And so when we're working with architects and designers or talking to a homeowner or talking to a developer, we really like to talk about the merits of TimberBatt as well as fill for sound. With the TimberBatt, if costs are a critical component, we are on market and our product can be procured for less money than the mineral wool products out there. So something to think about. Again, no longer a boutique product. We are definitely Main Street. And I'm going to turn it over to Evan. Here you go, Evan.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Good afternoon. I'm going to be discussing some of the mill aspects of our operation here, as well as some of the product improvements that we've made recently on TimberBatt. So here's our site. This was during construction 2023. Chimbro's been our major equipment company coming in and installing the equipment for us. This site used to be a paper mill. Paper machine was ripped out about 2017, and we came in about 2019. A lot of renovations need to be done to the site, both inside and out. New production equipment, new lines. On the outside of the building was a lot of equipment installed for pneumatic handling of our fiber. We transport all our fiber with big fans. So this image is showing the cranes that they use to get those cyclones up on top of the roof, a lot of the piping and smaller cyclones on the back side of the roof that the larger red crane is in for. So a lot of work inside and out on this facility, major investment. Our site makes a lot of sense. It used to be a paper mill. And as everybody knows, wood product industry in Maine, specifically pulp paper industry, has been declining past decade, a little bit more than that. So it kind of left a pocket for sawmill residuals and other chips needed to be consumed. They got to go somewhere, right? And us being in Madison, we have really good access to a bunch of sawmill residual chips that we're able to take and reuse and make into our insulation. Sawmill residuals are anything that lumber yards would process that can't be made into a square rectangular board. So kind of all the offcuts. Those get chipped and then they're sent to us, and then we make all three products from those. Mainly we're utilizing spruce, fir, and pine. Those give us really good properties when it comes on the fill to settle density. Like Scott mentioned, we're doing timber fill, TimberBatt right now. Later this year, we're going to be tackling timber board. On the inside of the mill, like I said, there is a lot of work that needed to be done, a lot of new equipment. The one on the left is our Bombi oven. It's an Italian manufacturer, and this is what we use for our TimberBatt. So Scott kind of mentioned it already too, but TimberBatt is in between your wood studs. Three main components are going into this. First one is wood chips. So this happens to just be a spruce fir sample. Second component is our fire retardant, which is borate. Borate we get in dried form, and then we make it down in a large make down tank. We mix it with water, and then we spray apply it onto the fibers. Pretty cool system. It gets radially applied, so our injection nozzles kind of hit all angles of the fiber as it moves through a pipe. We get really good even distribution of that borate, and we specifically do it in the wet phase so that we get a nice even coverage on the fibers and the borate adheres to the fibers. And then the third component that makes the bat different compositionally from fill is called a bicomponent fiber. So bicomponent fiber is a really interesting fiber. It's a synthetic fiber that has essentially two different components to it. The inner component is a nice flexible polymer, and then the outside of the component is also a polymer, but it melts at a lower melting point. And what that allows us to do when we run it through the Bombi oven is melt that outer sheath of the fiber that bonds to multiple wood fibers, and then we're left with this really nice product because that gives us the flexibility that we need in the bat. And that, when we mix those all together, put them through the oven, we get TimberBatt at the end. Interesting piece of work that I've been really working on the past year, really since we launched it, is trying to go beyond just the ASTM tests. Like Scott said, we do really rigorous testing on those. R value, acoustics, flame spread. As you look beyond those and we engage with customers, we ask what's working about the product and what's not. It really led us down the road of trying to make the product easier to work with, more compressible, easier to cut, install easier. So that's been a major focus of mine, and I think the next slide goes over some data that I gathered there. Right side image here is our saw deck. So we're able to make different sizes for different stud cavities, whether we're doing metal or wood, 15 on or 16 on center, 24 on center for wood cavities. So the saw deck essentially has a bunch of saws to cut lengthwise, and then we have saws that sit essentially on a carriage and cut across the deck to get our lengths right. So, like I was talking about, quite a bit of work for us in the mill and operations on trying to close the gap between customer needs and the product that we're producing. We really honed in that we needed to make the product easier to install. We started doing a lot more tests, trying to quantify exactly how the install experience is, how easily it cuts. One of the best tests, one of my favorite tests, is this mock install wall. And essentially what we've done is just built 16 on center wood stud framed cavities, and we incorporated electrical outlets and wiring so that we can mimic how people cut the product, handle the product, and install. Each one of these bays is labeled, so you see 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. We record the time individually that it takes to install a bat in that specific type of cavity, and then we record that. That's been our approach for a lot of our iterative product improvement efforts. That coupled with a bunch of other tests to quantify how easily the bat compresses, how easily it pulls apart, really all the handling characteristics that you wouldn't find in like an ASTM test, but are really critical for the product. We have successfully at this point reduced our install speed, which has been really good learning. It's been a major focus for us. So this is data summarized from that mock install wall, the average time that it takes to install a bat. Our older TimberBatt was about 35 seconds, and we've reduced now to about 26 seconds per bat, which is really in line with mineral wool. So that was the major focus, is how can we cut down the install time. It gets interesting, and my job gets really interesting because you have to think about how do we try to make this product easier to work with without impacting any of our other characteristics, right? Can't impact acoustics, can't impact thermal, can't impact your fire performance. So how we decided to tackle this was with a really, really small density change, one that doesn't impact any of those other characteristics, but you can notice it from an install speed and a compressibility standpoint. And we also optimized our bicomponent fiber addition. So bicomponent fiber, like I said, it's what gives the bat the ability to flex and stick together and have strength. If you're adding too much bicomponent fiber, though, it becomes more of a rigid bat to work with and not those flexibility, nice compressibility that we're looking for. So we're able to reduce down the amount of bicomponent fiber and make it easier to install product and easier to cut. And we'll see that with Matt Damon when we go out and do the install demos.
Thank
you, Scott.
Yeah, appreciate it. That's great insight. Appreciate that level of detail. And, I'm kind of pivoting over to getting ready to tee up Matt Damon here in a few minutes. But again, as we said, it's just wood primarily, with the exceptions of some of the additives that Evan just talked about. But we talk about the non-toxins. Obviously, there's a safety data sheet. So from a nuanced perspective, we recommend working with a paper mask. But again, as I said earlier, the fibers with the wood fiber are such that they're not irritable, so you can work with it. I mean, you're out there with your crew. We make samples from time to time. We're doing cutting stations and on job sites on a regular basis. And it's pretty uncanny how you literally get done with it, brush it off, or use a leaf blower, and you're back in business and didn't realize you were just installing insulation a few minutes ago. What'll be great is you'll see some cutting down below, and Matt's going to give you some ideas about some cutting tools. We do recommend that you use the paper mask, as I mentioned, but really there's no respirators necessary or anything of that nature. So it's a pretty straightforward approach to installing insulation. here's just something to be mindful of. I think we're bringing something unique here to North America as it relates to the carbon story. We really talked about the durability of the product, the traditional performances, all the things that are very critical for you for pricing it out, for R value, etc. But one of the nuances here is the fact that we are actually using something that is carbon based. And so we're getting those residuals, we're taking those residuals and we're storing them in the product. So as opposed to a tree decaying in the woods, if you will, slowly off-gassing, releasing that carbon, or instead of that chip being burned in a mass bio burning application where that's being utilized for electricity, this is different. We're going to take that product, residual, make a finished good, and use it for insulation. So what's unique about that is the fact that you actually have a negative 9 kilograms of carbon. So we're literally storing that into the building. When we start looking at a single family or a multifamily, the narrative's pretty interesting in terms of the fact that we are providing from day one when that building is turned on and the keys are turned over, you're already in a negative carbon. And in many of the other products that are out there, it does take time for that building to slowly offset. In other words, the performance of those insulation goods, it may take several years or so for those materials to provide the savings and the reduction of the carbon consumption to heat and cool, to offset the energy that was made to make the material in and of itself. So it's a little nuance. We like to put it in there as like a little bit of a cherry on top. For some, it's a very, very important subject, and for others, not so much. I just wanted to, again, remind everybody that we are on market with TimberFill and with TimberBatt, and we are looking to be in the market late this year. I do want to tee up a video that we're about to play here. I showed you a project that we're bidding on right now and specified in with TimberBatt up at the University of Maine. The Advanced Structures and Composites Center have done a lot of work with us, and we've learned an awful lot from them, and conversely, we've shared some of our equipment and tools, and it's a wonderful relationship that we have with the university. And you're going to see a promotional video that the University of Maine has done, and it's really for the school in general, but specifically they really highlight this Advanced Structures and Composites Center, which has wood composite, mass timber, cross laminate, and wood fiber insulation embedded into their program for the students. And it's amazing how that school has grown with regards to people coming from away, not just Maine students, but there's a lot of folks coming to Maine now to take advantage of what the university is doing. So we're going to have a little bit of a gap in between our presentation. We're going to play this video, which is about 2 minutes, and then Matt Damon will pick it up on the other side. So thank you.
A wood chip is a fascinating thing. And when I think about what the University of Maine has done with some of their biofuels efforts, and now the turning a wood chip into insulation, what is the next innovation that is going to lead to?
We have this future that we envision, not just in Maine, but everywhere, of sustainable products in every sector of the economy.
When we started this company, we were focused on creating the next generation of sustainable building products that utilizes our resources, our natural resources, and in these communities where we've traditionally manufactured, in this case paper, but now wood fiber insulation.
When we found this mill, it was about the people who had worked here before and what their knowledge of not just this building, but 24/7 wood products manufacturing and all of the value that they brought.
It's really about finding the partnership, and UMaine Advanced Structures and Composites are the partner for us to be able to take what we can do well, which is the manufacture, and to bring in what they do so well, which is the building science and the science behind wood, and really work together to ensure that we have a robust opportunity with these products that are durable and are going to perform well, and quite honestly, are going to result in the next generation of building systems.
To be part of the team that brings a manufacturing site back to life, it means a lot.
All of these are Maine folks who want to see some growth opportunity, that change. And it's really about all these diverse people coming together.
With research and development, it's a lot of crazy ideas, and that results in a lot of crazy problem solving to things you haven't seen before. What the engineering, technology, and humane programs do really well is expose you to as many things as possible. That way, when you get into the industry, I know where to find the answer, and I know what questions to ask that will help me arrive at a solution.
You know, for me, it's not about what any one of us has done, but it's what we've done together. It's about the main people doing something that is actually galvanizing and results in positive change.
All right, folks. Alex Donnelly here, inside sales for TimberHP. You're joining us live in our demo area on the floor. I'm going to get this teed up, and Mr. Matt Damon will introduce himself to you guys and walk through some TimberBatt installation.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot, Alex. Thanks to everybody for joining us here on this webinar about TimberBatt. I am Matt Damon, the field education specialist for TimberHP. Yes, my name is Matt Damon, and Alex has gracefully and willingly offered up a bag of swag for anybody with the best Matt Damon reference that I personally have not heard. So throw them in the comments and see what we come up with. So I'm going to talk today about TimberBatt installation practices, some of the cutting tools that we use that we've had success with, and let everybody know that the TimberBatt is able to be installed by a wide variety of contractors, from custom home builders that have a lot of time, that want to make precision cuts, that can do complicated roof assemblies, to production builders that where speed is paramount. They can still do a great job with the tools that they regularly use and handle. So let's get into it. This is a Baco saw. This is from Sweden. It's it's sort of a wavy blade. It's a very thin blade, so it makes really precise cuts. This is about $40, $45 from Amazon. Great thing about this blade, it has a sharpener, so it's able to be sharpened regularly. And everybody can see this, it cuts very smooth, very quickly, really sharp, nice cuts. Works great. That was our 5.5 inch bat. This is our 3.5 inch bat. Works really nice for longer cuts, straight cuts, angle cuts. It's a good all around saw. This is the Linson blade. It's about $16 from Amazon. Any other hardware stores also carry them. A lot of guys like this because it's a sheath. So when they're working, they can quickly pull the knife out. It's great for making smaller cuts, stuff like that around like outlets, wires. You can take it, you can make a cut, bend this, and then put it sort of in a wire, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. But this is a great all-around blade. You see, it quickly and easily cuts out corners. We recommend using the scalp portion of the blade. That tends to give the best cut. And a lot of the installers, particularly the production guys, they like the hide blade. This is a mineral wool and a fiberglass blade predominantly, but we've had really good success with this with TimberBatt. Cuts super smooth. Guys like it for the 3.5 inch bat a lot. Makes nice quick cuts. Guys like this blade too, because if you see a lot of production builders, they'll just kind of come up, eyeball something, and then install it in a cavity. And this is sort of their go-to blade. And when it's kept sharp, this blade works really, really well for TimberBatt. And those are our sort of 3 workhorse blades. We've done a lot of research and development and found some other blades that we've had great success with. This is the Morakniv. This is also from Sweden. This is an insulation specific blade. Has kind of a serrated but sort of straight blade. And this thing, it's got a little bit of heft to it, which I really like. And this cuts really quickly and well with TimberBatt. So that's sort of another option. This is a Bosch soft material blade. It's used for board insulation, for XPS, polyiso, and we've had a lot of success with this, particularly with precision cuts. So just another option, another tool in your toolkit. This is kind of what those blades look like. They could be used in a jigsaw too, which is great. And then Baco also makes a folding saw. So this is essentially a smaller version of the larger blade. And I really like this blade. It's it fits in a pocket. You can keep it in the side of your pants. Take it out, and this does sort of a similar thin cut, sharp blade like the Baco's, like the full size Baco saw. Nice clean, crisp cuts. Looks nice. You can keep this nice and sharp. So those are kind of the options for saws. And I'm going to show you now. This is the table called the scar board. How's that look, Alex? We good on camera? This is from Sweden. This is great for production builders, for guys that have to do multiple repetitive cuts, anywhere where there's angles, sloped ceilings, cathedral ceilings. This does a really sweet job. It has angle markings. It's got, it's all pre-measured. So you can put this on. You don't have to use a tape measure. And it has this nice feature where you can put this bar down. And make these really nice, that's 30-degree cut. It has another nice feature that we're able to do miter cuts. And you can just tee this up perpendicular here. Other angle, okay. And you get a nice miter cut for cathedral ceiling. So those are kind of some of the options available for knives, for cutting tools, depending on what sort of project you're using. We've seen people use table saws. I've seen guys use spray foam sawzall blades where they use to shave off the spray foam. That works well. They duct tape the end of it. That can work really well. Any serrated blade, any sharp straight blade works really well. So a wide variety of tools and lots of uses for TimberBatt. So this is nice because it's, as Evan talked, they've made the bat really squishy. So it compresses nice and it's really easy to fit into a cavity. It's not dusty. We recommend using PPEs, particularly overhead, but I'm not because no one's, you can't hear me with a mask on. So we come in, and we can just sort of pressure fit it in, make a little adjustment, and it looks great. And so for the sake of time, I did pre-cut a couple of these. I know we're a little limited on time. So for this one, I essentially just notched out. I notched out for this large wire, and then notched out for the outlet box. And then I did just a little cut here for where these wires kind of lay proud. But the TimberBatt compresses enough where you don't have to make any cuts for wires that sort of run like along a stud, which is really nice. So you can see how nice that goes in, how flat it is. And I tend to, when I'm cutting, particularly with a squishier bat, around outlets and stuff, I'll go, an 1/8 of an inch, a 1/4 inch low, and that helps the bat really snug up against what it's trying to kind of go against. So makes a nice tidy install, nice and nice and tight, no gaps, a nice grade 1 install. If you're concerned about you know, rating, HERS raters, stuff like that. And then something like this wire, same thing. It's nice and squishy. The stuff goes in. At least for me, super easy. Nice, great install. Looks awesome. Definitely a grade 1 install. I'm sure Scott talked about the acoustic properties. If I went on the other side of the wall, you wouldn't be able to hear me. Like, it really is pretty amazing. And the fire, you know, Class A fire rated, of course. And then for this pipe, pretty easy. I just kind of, I cut this down the middle and then just did sort of a notch with the Baco saw. So you can see just the notch right here. And then I get a ladder. And if anybody has questions while I'm talking, please don't hesitate. That fits in there like that. There's insulation behind here to prevent pipes from freezing, stuff like that. I tend not to put any insulation on the interior. That helps heat get to it so pipes don't freeze. So yeah. Questions?
Don't see any questions yet.
Okay.
But
What did you use to create that cavity, that little kick out for the pipe?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
This was the Baco. Let me grab the
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
long.
Yeah. So I could do this on sort of a smaller scale. It's just, you can go like that. Like that. Nice and notched. Fits around pipes. And for the wires, I did this, and then I used the Linson blade.
So Matt, do you have a favorite knife?
If I had to pick one, I would probably use the Linson blade. It could be sharpened. It can make cross cuts well that are nice and sharp and crisp, but can also use you can also use it to make fine cuts like round outlets and wires. I think this would be sort of my go-to. It's got a great price point too. It said the sheath is really nice, especially for the production builders.
Yeah, that sheath alone is worth it.
It's nice, yeah. And then these guys also, when they're installing, like I said, you know, some of the production builders will just, they won't measure because, you know, they're out for speed. So they'll come and just do something like this and then put this like around that outlet, just sort of an eyeball. And that's the great thing about TimberBatt is that there is that flexibility. It's squishy, so you have a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of play to in case you're not making super precise cuts. There's a little bit of flexibility in how it's cut. So yeah.
Now, we did have one other question in the chat, and you're gonna love this one. What movie will you be in next? No, so you know, like I said, I
Born
think
Supremacy 7.
there you go, Born Supremacy 7. All right, we've got it. No, you know, the preference on the Linson blade is awesome. For
Yeah.
me, I think, the thing that stood out was really that grade 1 install you talked about, man. The way that it fits in nice and snug around our piping, around electrical, you get a real clean
Yep.
finish on it. And you get that joy of a self-supporting insulation in the wall stud bay that you got right there in the middle,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
no sagging.
Self-supporting right here, no sagging. It's great. It's a good combination of squishiness, but also it's stiff, so it's easy to handle. It's not brittle. It doesn't fall apart like some other installations. It's not itchy. There's minimal dust. Installers really like it. They don't go home itchy. You don't have to wear a Tyvek suit all day. You're not hot in that suit. You're not wearing a full face respirator. When there is a little bit of dust, you sweep it up and it's basically just sawdust. And installers really like that. A lot of times when using other products, they're sweeping up these dust that's harsh chemicals. It's irritating. Their eyes get irritated. They have to wash their clothes separately. This is just sort of in my conversations with all the installers that I meet and work with that have great experiences with TimberBatt. So.
All right.
I know a lot of guys too use the hide blades. These are super cheap, super affordable. Most of the production builders carry like a whetstone, and every hour or so they'll sharpen this. They'll keep their blade nice and sharp, and they're good to go. Like I said, installers just they tend to make cuts like that when they're doing their work. These guys want to move fast, and with this blade doing precision enough cuts is great. So
Awesome. All right. Any other questions for Matt, guys? Feel free to throw them into the chat or go ahead and direct them into the Q&A portion at the bottom. If we missed your question or didn't have a chance to address it live, you can always follow up with us at info@timberhp.com and send your technical or product related questions there. Or if you've got a sales related question, even if it comes down to where to source the cutting utensils for you guys, please feel free to reach out to sales@timberhp.com. You can also check out some of the links that are going in the chat here to help you guys locate some of the cutting tools. As it sits right now.
You can post my information if people have install questions. If you're working with installers, if there are installers on the call, feel free to reach out with any TimberBatt, TimberFill questions, and soon to be TimberBoard.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Scott, I think we're going to go ahead and turn it back over to you, good sir.
Hey, Matt and Alex, great job. That was very informative. I appreciate that level of detail. I think that's why there weren't so many questions. I did have somebody out there that's got a cabin, and if it's absolutely positively a structure that will always be used in that capacity, you're good to go with whether it's a sheetrock or some form of wood interior, you're good. But if perhaps sometime that building might be bought or turned into a year-round structure, if you will, in that case, you'd want to follow code to make sure that you're code compliant. Also, displays. Some folks might be interested if they're a installer and are very interested in promoting our products. Reach out to us online and give us more information. And Jan, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you want to get more granular in terms of how to do that, besides just a simple reach out via web, please feel free to jump in. But we do have various different types of displays that can be used, whether you're a retailer per se or an installer interfacing with the customer. But I'm looking at the fact that it's 1:59. We've covered an awful lot of ground, and I really appreciate everybody taking the time to visit with us this afternoon. So thank you again. Really appreciate it.